right, Jennifer, welcome to the Health Detective Podcast yet again. How are you?
I am doing great, Ev. How are you doing?
I can hardly remember time I was better. Thanks for asking. So, all right, we're getting started today. You are a fan favorite, just so you know, on this podcast, and I'm not just saying that. I wanted to read this for you really quick live. One of our reviews back from May 27th of 2022, after you did your hormone one, was highly recommend. I love the episode with guest Jennifer Woodward. Excited to dive in and listen to more. Yeah, keep them coming. So thank you so much for being a fan favorite. And Jennifer Woodward, for those that don't know, has been on twice. So if you want to hear her story after listening to what we're about to talk about today, go back to I should have pulled it up. It's episode 7 or 8. It's before episode 10. And then she came on again to talk about why you can't supplement your way to healthy hormones. So just search for that title. You'll find that. Actually, I'll put this in the show notes for everyone just to keep it simple. But then today, the reason we brought you back on is to talk about some other programs that you have totally kicked butt at since you joined FDN, right? And it's amazing because I remember at one point, I think I had applied for the same position that you were doing as at the AFDNP thing because the pandemic started and I got all nervous about the school stuff. And I'm so glad it worked out the way it did because I even said in my resume, I'm underqualified for this. I am here in case you guys don't have someone better. So Jennifer Woodward swept me away from that position and they're like, hey kid, here's a podcast for you. So Jennifer Woodward is the Executive Director of AFDNP, which is the Association of Functional Diagnostic Nutrition Practitioners. And we're going to be talking about that program today, as well as business school, which in my opinion completely separates. If there's not enough to separate FDN from other schools, that's the biggest game changer. I know of nothing that's even similar to that. So let's start out with AFDNP and talk about what that is from your perspective, right? Because we have trainees listening, we have people considering the course. So how do I get into AFDNP and what's the overview?
Awesome. Ev, I just have to say it's an honor to be back here with you. I love it when we get to hang out together on the podcast. So thank you for having me.
Yep.
And yeah, it's funny that you say that about you applying for the job because I actually applied for another position at AFDNP probably 4 years ago, and Brandy didn't give me that position. So I was like, oh man, am I ballsy enough to submit another resume? Because I'm just not sure if they're going to hire me. And it worked out. And I'm so thankful that it did. I just get to work with amazing people like yourself. So I love FDN. We were just talking about that before we hopped on the show today. And really, really love our graduates. So as you know, I have my own practice and, getting to work with women in the clinical setting is just a joy for me. But then getting to work with my grads on the business side is just, as equal of a joy, possibly more so. It's just my love and passion. So very thankful to be where I'm at. To answer your question about what is AFDNP, man, that is a mouthful, right? It's a big acronym. And if you're not new to this podcast, probably most of your listeners, we love our acronyms at AFDNP or FDN. So AFDNP refers to the professional or the graduate or the practitioner side. So once someone completes the course, which takes, I would say, 9 to 12 months for somebody to go through the FDN course-ish, then they have the option to enter into the graduate association or the professional membership. And what Reed likes to say is, it kind of sets apart the professionals from the hobbyists. Not you have to join AFDNP and you're not a professional, but we have a lot of people that go through the course because their own health issues are so major that they have to take matters into their own hands. Or we have people who are trying to help their husbands or wives or family members. And those are people who go through the course just because they want that knowledge for themselves. Then we have people that go through the course because they are passionate about helping others and starting a business, getting to do so. So that's kind of why AFDNP exists. And it is for 2 reasons: to help you build your business and further your clinical skills. So when people graduate the FDN proper course, the course certification, they've got all this amazing knowledge of biochemistry, anatomy, physiology. They're relative experts in these functional labs that we've been trained on. But I kept getting this question as AFDNP director over and over and over again: how the heck do I build my business? How do I get a client? What do I do? And so what we've tried to do at AFDNP first and then at business school is just try to provide lots and lots and lots of resources on how to be an entrepreneur and a professional in the health and wellness space. Because Ev, I think you and I have talked about this before. We're kind of in the wild west of functional nutrition. It's kind of a new thing, right? It's a very unregulated industry at this point. Even nutrition science itself is only 150 years old. So we're kind of all exploring this together, right? And it's nice to have a place where you can kind of coalesce with your fellow nerds, as we say all the time in AFDNP, just to have a safe spot, right? And get to learn and grow together. So we've really tried to create like a family feel at AFDNP, because a lot of us are doing this for our second career, or maybe our families don't necessarily understand what it is that we do. And you've really found a home with other professionals inside of the membership.
Right. Wow. It's awesome to see what you've done. I know Reed hypes it up all the time, but I mean, numbers don't lie. We've had other people running in the past, and listen, just to be clear, they're all amazing people, right? And they provided value in different ways. But again, numbers don't lie. And so since Jennifer's taken over, there's more and more members than ever before. They stay like insanely long, like they just want to hang around and keep using the services. So it's really a program that is dedicated to, like you said, the professional who wants to go do this as a real career, make a real lifestyle out of this. That's possible with AFDNP. And Reed always says this. I mean, he has a goal, and it's something we don't talk about on the podcast a lot because it can be intimidating to people. They really just cannot even believe this for themselves. But Reed says that everyone, if you're doing this full time, should be able to be at a six-figure income 1 year after graduating. And now, again, I think he's a phenomenal salesperson. He's a phenomenal business guy. So maybe he doesn't realize it can be intimidating for some people when they first start out. But that's okay. That's why we have these other resources now, because when you're approaching something from a business perspective, you need to see, is like the system you have good? And not that you're buying a franchise with FDN, it's different than that. But like if you buy a McDonald's, right? Now I'm not supporting that, but it is a system nonetheless, right? You're buying that system from them and you're expecting it to work. Now, if you have terrible customer service skills and you don't know how to hire people and you're bad at that, like I don't know if McDonald's supports you with it, but let's assume that they don't. Well, your McDonald's is probably going to fail, even though we know that can be a very successful business, even if it shouldn't be. So FDN is the same thing. We saw some graduates coming out, they never take another advanced course. They don't do any business stuff, and bam, they're at well over six figures within a year after graduating. And then we had other people 3 years later, and it's like, okay, they're still kind of dragging along. And that's okay. We all have different skills and different things that we're good at. But the point remains then, it's not FDN. It's not the system that we have. It's the business skills or savvy of the person. So what would happen if we were able to provide them with that? And I don't want to underplay the other aspect of AFDNP here today, just because we're talking about business school, because like you mentioned, I mean, there's huge additional clinical insights. If you had any question in the world, you can go in there and there are staffed people. I believe that's Monday through Friday, right? Or is that weekends as well that there's staffed people in there answering questions?
Monday through Sunday. We have people in there pretty much 24/7. It's unparalleled. Our advisors are amazing.
Yeah, so you could go in and what's crazy about AFDNP is I could go, let's say I have a client and I've never heard of the condition before. Now, we don't treat anything specifically as FDNs, but it's still, I mean, you got to know about what they're dealing with. That's helpful, right? What medications might they be taking so we don't interact with the supplements? We should know these things. And so I could go in there and ask about some crazy condition I've never heard of, and I guarantee there are people in there that are going to be able to help me with this. The very next day, I could go in and ask, all right, hey, I'm at full capacity for my FDN business. I'm looking to hire my first employee. Does anyone have any advice? And I could also get answers for that. Like the fact that you can do that in one place is amazing for higher level business questions and higher level clinical questions. It's a one-stop shop. But again, today we are going to focus more a little bit on that business side of things. So I want to touch one more on AFDMP and then we'll transition to that. What are some of the events on a weekly basis that people can expect? Because, I mean, you got so much going on in there for the graduates now, I can't even keep track. So between like detective hour, office hours with Reed, what are some things that people can expect if they join that after graduating?
Yes. Okay. I can barely keep up either, but we have a great staff of people who are constantly on these webinars, helping moderate them, helping get the information out to our grads. So I'm so grateful for my team. But every Wednesday we do have a clinical webinar series. So those shift in focus throughout the month, but we're bringing on thought leaders from the functional medicine and functional nutrition space every single month. And sometimes we kind of shoot for the moon and we reach out to people and say like, hey, would you like to be on our webinar? And we're thrilled when they say, yes, we'd love to teach your grads. So we just had, for example, Dr. Anna Kabeka on a couple of weeks ago on our pro series, which is fantastic. We had Ben Azadi on from Keto Camp. I mean, these people they're big names in the space, and it's so encouraging that they will come in and teach our grads. So we do have webinars happening like that every single week on Wednesdays. And then we also offer something called Detective Hour, and that happens twice a month. And that's a huge thing for our grads too, because It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how many tests you've run, how many clients you've had. There's still that little voice in the back of your head that says, what if you don't know the answer? What if you don't know enough? And so Detective Hour pairs a clinical advisor, a very seasoned clinical advisor, with an FDN practitioner who's going over a case in real time. So any one of my clients where I've run, 3 to 5 of my labs, and I want to put together a clinical presentation, a 90-day protocol, a complete plan for that client. You, as an FDN practitioner, can opt into Detective Hour. You bring your whole case to a clinical advisor, and then we go through that, piece by piece, live on air with the FDN asking questions of the clinical advisor, and everyone kind of chiming in if there's someone who's got a little bit more expertise. And this is unparalleled in training. You are getting twice a month, completely free, completely live training, and furthering your FDN prowess. So that's huge. We love Detective Hour. Yeah. If you're looking for things a little bit deeper, a little bit more nerdy, you are going to love Ryan Monahan. We've got a show called Quick and Nerdy that happens every other week. And man, our grad just love this show. Ryan is my favorite nerd. He just goes so deep into this stuff that, most mortals' brains don't think about, but everyone loves it. So that's one of our most highly attended, most highly populated shows. This last week, we went into the difference between cortisol and cortisone. I mean, that's not exciting to anybody, but once you hop on the show, you're just like, yes, give me more. So great. We've gone over, methylation and, specific dives on vitamins and minerals, and it gets way nerdier than that. But suffice it to say, that's a great offering that we have. It's been around for about 2 years. And like I said, it's one of our most attended shows. We've got something called Clinical Peer-to-Peer Roundtable. That happens with one of our other favorite clinical advisors, Paula Reed. That happens alternating Tuesdays from Quick and Nerdy. And that's an FDN, coming in and just, again, sharing cases. But instead of just a clinical advisor, it's an entire peer kind of cohort that's helping that FDN further their case. We have a lot of opportunity to work on cases. When you're an AFDNP, you are not alone in working with your clients. And that's something even I've been in practice for almost 7 years now, and I've worked with hundreds of clients, but man, I tell my clients, it's not just me that you're hiring. I've got an entire group of bigger brains than mine who I can run some of these things off of. I saw you nod and realize.
Yeah, I see you utilizing it yourself. Right. Yeah. Because I see you post questions in there yourself. Right. And that's how it should be used. It's that big of a resource. One other thing I wanted to mention too, because I sometimes forget about this. Everything that we do in AFDNP is recorded and saved, correct? So this is actually something that if you guys never added any new series, it is still ever increasing in value, because if someone joined a year from now, do you even have an approximate estimate of how many hundreds of hours of content is saved between business and clinical stuff? It's got to be multiple hundreds.
Oh, for sure. I think our archives are pure pirate gold, for sure. There is so much in there. If you started today, it would take you 2 years if you listen to a webinar every single day to go through all those past archives. There is so much incredible information that you have access to immediately as soon as you opt into AFDNP, even as a free trial member. And we do give people 14 days to kind of try out the membership, see what they think. I got to tell you, it's probably not enough because there's so much information, but it's nice to get your feet wet without feeling like you have to commit.
Yeah. So that's kind of a cool thing about it is, you could finish FDN, and obviously FDN's particularly dense, so I get that, but there is actually more, if we're just speaking generally, more content at this point recorded in AFDNP than the course itself. And the cost of AFDNP, maybe we should be, because I don't know if it'll ever go up, but it's certainly nothing crazy. At the time of recording this, I think it is worth saying. What is the price of this? Because you would expect it to be super high, and it's incredibly reasonable.
It is pennies right now. I will tell you, as of October 1st, it's only $57 a month, which is very exciting. We are shifting over for some of our past members from legacy member pricing to that very slight price increase, but we've not raised the price of the FDNP since its inception, which was about 6 years ago as well. So $57 a month. And the benefits you get, we try to provide a cost savings to our members because we know it's hard. You just come out of an expensive course. You're trying to build a business and we don't want to gouge you. And so if you are an AFDNP, you actually get $10 off every single medical director order that you have. You get $50 off every single metabolic typing test that you order. You get 20% off every advanced course. You get 20% off of business school. So you could recoup that monthly membership fee very quickly just by taking advantage of the other things that you have to get in the on the graduate side.
I actually, because I'm so used to it now, I kind of forgot about that part too. The fact that we get the $10 discount on the MDP stuff. I mean, if you are doing FDN even new, slightly part-time, that should already be economical. Like that should already work for you in the numbers. If you're doing this full-time, you're so in the money at that point. It's awesome. That was a smart move. You got a lot of creative little stuff that you've done with that. So I want to move into business school though, because AFDNP is your baby. This is like, the sister or brother or something at this point, because this really is your baby. You created this one. So I know I can't stress enough how much work has gone into this. And in my opinion, between this and FDN Thrive, which we do have another podcast on, so if I mention that at all, and you're a bit confused, go back, I don't know, roughly 15 episodes to Joe Pate's episode. And it's called We Will Help You Build Your Biz with FDN Thrive with Joe Pate. So check that one out. But between these two programs now, there's no excuses. You could have your handheld if you really wanted to for business stuff. So I don't care if you're the shyest person out there, never did a lemonade stand even as a kid because you don't want to sell something. This is the most natural way to do it. And it's not like it's a separate business thing that's for any type of business. It's specific for FDNs, which is amazing. We're teaching you how to do it by people who have actually done it. So what was the inspiration for business school? Like why? Because that's a heck of a program. So why did FDN say, hey, you know what? Go ahead, Jennifer, let's do this and let's actually make this. Where was the demand coming from is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, great question. And I love that you called it my baby because I am a mom. I have 4 of my own children, and AFDNP and then FDN Business School are my babies. And just like a mom, I kind of got a little bit overwhelmed answering the same questions over and over and over again. You're like, oh, I already told you that. So I created Business School, honestly, to make things a little bit more streamlined and easy for myself and anyone who comes after me. It is literally the answer to every single question I have ever gotten as AFDNP director over the course of these last almost 3 years, because those are the questions that I was getting time and time again. I heard, the cries of people's hearts, and knowing their frustrations and their fears and their anxieties and their worries about starting a business, I started to see this pattern emerge where people didn't know the next step to take. And I wanted to make it very easy for them, very natural to take this next step so that they could build their business, because they have just invested all of this time, all of this money and effort, and likely they're still struggling with their own health issues. And so I was seeing people just kind of feeling a little bit burnt out as they were transitioning into entrepreneurial, forays. And so I wanted to hold their hand, just like you said. Can I, come sit with me for a little bit. Let's go over this. Let's talk about it, and let's make it as easy as possible for you to jump into your business in 90 days or less, where you feel comfortable and confident launching an online practice so that you can get your clients and start making money. Because that is what our, entrepreneurs want to do. They want to make money because they need to pay bills. So the premise of Business School also, like you said, it's the only course that's ever been built for FDNs by an FDN. And, it was a labor of love, but it was so much fun to get to go in and, reteach myself some of these concepts and look at things from a 40,000 foot view, and then kind of dial in and see, what would this look like literally step by step for people who are learning something brand new. For you and I, a lot of it's intuitive because we've been doing it for a while, but for a brand new FDN practitioner, even the little things get quite overwhelming. So I put together, each module, they're between 5 and 15 minutes, not overwhelming at all. We go through step by step every single piece of technology I want to help you build and implement. And honestly, I encourage people, pause your screen, and I want you to be working on these things as I am teaching you. So you'll be opening up the software and doing the steps as you're watching the steps. And so, there's no stone left unturned, just because we want people to have that supreme level of confidence after they graduate business school. And the feedback has been so encouraging so far. We've had a couple of people graduate already. We've got about 50 people in our beta group at this point. And it's going well for those people. So it's a really big blessing to get to see.
I should have mentioned this because I think I had talked about it one podcast, but it would have been a while ago at this point. A business school is relatively new. This is something that, only came out in 2022, and it's a heck of a good time, right? Because we have more and more people, especially since the pandemic had begun, transitioning into work as FDNs. I've heard of a lot of nurses, especially. They come into FDN. They no longer want to be in that field, but they still want to be in healthcare. Mm-hmm. And so they come into this, but they've been an employee, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, of course. But as an employee, you typically don't learn many business skills. And so I want to be clear about this, because it sounds like it's pretty in depth and has just about everything someone could want. So let's say I am someone, I have no business experience. I worked as an accountant. Maybe that was my job, and I worked in an office for someone else, and now I transitioned into FDN. I had the intellectual capacity, of course, to get through the course, so it's not like I'm not like a slow learner. You know, I can pick up stuff pretty quick, but I don't know anything about it. Is there any limitations at all with the business school, or will I learn everything from what to say on a sales call? Will I learn about marketing? Will I learn about email stuff? I mean, I'm really asking that because even I personally don't know everything of business school. I haven't gone through it.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, those are great questions. And the answer to all those questions is yes. We have taken you and like put training wheels on your bike. And by the time you graduate, you are on a high class 10 speed. So while the course starts off very simple, there are very complex concepts that we dive into so that you are really getting a very comprehensive look at what it looks like to run an online business. So from what I hear you asking, you know, the very beginning, I've built out spreadsheets so that you can track your income and expenses. You can track your first 5 clients and then on to 100. We've got, you know, the actual script for a sales call where we go through, you know, objections and, you know, money mindset. We've got the actual script for every single session that you would do with your client as a, you know, practitioner, because people are like, what do I actually do in my sessions? So I thought, well, let's tell you what you do in your sessions. You know, we go over supplements, we go over recommendations, a 90-day program for your client, a 90-day plan for your own business. There are so many supplementary resources that we've built for you inside of FDN Business School that you can use now in your practice, and you'll be able to use 5 or 10 years down the line as well. Now, from a teaching standpoint, we have people who they don't know they need a business bank account, or that they need you know, to operate a sole proprietorship or a LLC or an S corp. We have people who don't know, you know, how to get a business license in their state or their city or their county. And so we walk you through all of those like very beginning stages of starting a business. Then yes, we segue into, you know, using an email platform and building an email list. I even teach you how to put together an email sequence series, like a flow, because everyone gets those like automated emails from people that are like, you know, here's a little bit more about me. Here's a little bit more about my program. I teach you how to do that. We teach you how to automate your entire practice using a platform called Get Healthy. I actually put together a Canva presentation for you so that everyone in business school will get this template. They can make it their own, and it walks people through an entire dress protocol, all the information on dress, so that, again, you're not repeating yourself time and time again. And when you finish the course, now you're very competent in filming a video, transcribing that video, uploading it to a site like Vimeo or YouTube, transferring that link over to your Get Healthy, and building out an entire automated program inside of Get Healthy. So you can just click one button and your client gets that entire video series. You know, we've just made it as easy as possible so that you can focus on your client and not focus on all of these, you know, business ideas that are floating around. Is this going to make you $1 million? You know, no, but it's going to get you to that first, you know, 6-figure hurdle that you need to overcome. And it's an exact great place for people to start as they are building out their business. Even people who've already been entrepreneurs are taking FDN Business School and are really, really liking the content because it's so FDN specific.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, I'm genuinely, because I've always been entrepreneurial, but I'm thinking about how specific this is to FDN, and it is fascinating, right? It piques my interest. I'm like, wow, that's actually pretty damn cool. And then so just because I know, I'm sorry to be repetitive, but I know someone will be sitting here wondering this question again right now, because maybe you know, you don't typically sit and just listen to a podcast. They're probably cooking organic pasture-raised eggs on their Teflon-free pan, and so they missed me say this. So if I am going through and I have no business experience, and I also realize on a side note how terrible using an accountant was as an example for someone who doesn't know anything about business. That's kind of stupid, right? So forgive me, accountants out there. As I said, an accountant wouldn't know something about business. That is, yeah, absolutely wrong. But some professional that wouldn't know something about running a business, they will get all of the information necessary from filing the taxes to how to get the business bank account to setting up the email stuff. You guys got all of it covered in business school.
Yes, we have all of that covered in business school, 100%.
Cool.
And now everyone knows
that's really sweet. I mean, yes, yeah. Well, I got to do it again because, you know, you do get distracted. I'm doing other stuff while I listen to podcasts. I'm driving or whatever. So I just wanted to make sure people actually hear that, because that's really cool. Most business courses are not like that in general, in my opinion, because I've done some business course stuff and it's usually specific maybe to like an industry, or if it is general, they're not touching on, like they forget the stuff that you just said is intuitive to people that do business stuff. Like, all right, first thing, I need to get a business bank account. No, that's not what most people are thinking, and they forget to put that in their course. And it matters right now. I mean, and this is not, my God, I hate that I can't bring up like anything even minorly political without people assuming it's one way or the other. I'm just stating a fact that currently there are 87,000 more IRS agents being hired in America, which is the majority of our audience. So guys, you need to be doing things correctly is the bottom line. Again, for better or for worse, right? I'm not here to argue that, but I'm saying that that is a thing. And so you could get away with maybe messing something up on your taxes 5 years ago and no one ever finds out. You never got audited. I'm going to guess that these upcoming years are going to be heavy with audits. And the last thing you need as a small business owner that's maybe only doing 75 to 100,000, not that that's a low income, I'm just saying that it's not something that has like lawyers behind it, right? It's not like multiple $1 million business. You can't be screwing stuff up. You got to take it seriously. And so I think it's amazing that we are actually protecting our practitioners in addition to educating them, because people miss a lot of stuff. I've missed a ton of stuff when I didn't have a business bank account for the longest time. I would just take everything to my personal checking, and I had like 3 different things going on. I'm like, this is great. So thankfully they didn't have those additional IRS agents back then, right? Maybe I shouldn't be saying this on a public podcast either. It was genuine ignorance, so I plead ignorance. So I know that it's newer, but you said that you've had some people go through. Have you had anyone be able to give a legitimate testimonial or results yet? And if not, that's okay. It's brand new, but I'm kind of curious because I feel like it's maybe been out long enough for that.
Yeah, so our actual inception date was June 1st. So we have had a few people actually graduate the course. We do have some pretty cool testimonials already. Actually, I know Krista Lyons is one. She was our first graduate. So she actually came back into the group as a peer moderator just because she loved it so much and she understood it so much. And she does have some business background and experience. And so we brought her in as an adjunct help so that she can answer questions and encourage people too. But she just said it was a very specifically oriented business building course for FDNs, and it filled in a lot of the gaps that she had as an FDN practitioner and business owner. And I'd love to send you some more of our testimonials. I have culled a couple of them. I can't quote them verbatim off the top of my head, but suffice it to say that the feedback we've gotten has been really, really good so far. It won't all be good all the time. And sometimes we've had some constructive help where I go back in and I'm able to update things like right away, or I'm able to edit things. And I love that. I love getting to make things better. So this is our beta group that's been helpful in that way. Like, hey, this link is broken or whatever. But for the most part, we are just getting all good feedback, which again it makes me so happy.
Very cool. And that's how I feel like FDN as a company is founded on that idea of, all right, let's make it as great a product as we can in the beginning and then constantly get feedback. I think it's why the FDN course is probably superior to most other things. I have been through other programs for certifications. No one ever did a postgraduate interview with me, right? Especially not the founder. And at this point, I'm sorry, I shouldn't hype you up because we've gotten big enough that it's not always Reed Davis by any means getting on these postgrad interviews. I know. Yeah. So you guys are still really lucky. But Reed Davis, the founder of FDN, did the first 2,000 postgraduate interviews. Guys, that's 1,000 hours of just interviewing people, asking them what they liked about the course. Where can we do better? I mean, like, come on, right? And so I like your approach with the business school thing. All right, let's not take offense to it. Let's see what's a common thing coming up that we can help people with and optimize it even more. I think that just makes it more and more valuable over time. And so speaking of which, and if you guys are listening to this 2 years later, it very well could have gone up. I mean, inflation could have made it go up, right? So I can't guarantee a price for you 2 years later, but sometimes people will come back and say, well, I heard it on this podcast. This is for September, now, of 2022, my friends. That's all this applies to. But how much would this cost them to get into it? And can they buy it when they sign up for the course itself? Is there any advantage to that?
Actually, yes. So that part is new. To answer your question, it's $1,597 for the course right now. So that is September 2022. We will be doubling the price of that as we run through our beta group, which we still think is very reasonable. I myself have I was in a $10,000 business training course where all I had access to were group trainings on Facebook. Like it was nothing like this. And so we try to make it very accessible to our grads again. So right now, $1,597. the prerequisite of business school is that you have to be inside of the AFDNP membership. So if you are, you actually get a backdoor coupon for 20% off. So we have most of our grads purchasing it right now, $1,197 at this point. That's 20% off the $1,600. Now, but wait, there's more. If you do bundle it, if you are coming in and if you are going to purchase the FDN course itself, so the certification course, we are offering a really special bundle where you can add on business school, which you can't access until you're done with the course, just because we want you to focus on, the actual course itself. We're offering that for $997. So it's almost a no-brainer because you can actually make payments with that as well. And then the minute you graduate the course, you have immediate access to business school, and you can be up and running with your business within 30 to 60 days.
Oh, wait, so they'll even incorporate that into the in-house payment plans? Yes. Come on, guys. All right. It's like the most salesy podcast I've ever done. I'm not trying to do that. But I mean, that's just, I would have done that in a heartbeat at the time I went through FDN. And I know that there was talk in the past about having just including it in the course of tuition and like raising the tuition as a result. I think it's great that it's an option because we do have entrepreneurs that come in and they are very successful at what they're doing and they want to add FDN on. Now, why are we forcing them to do this if they already are an experienced business person? I mean, I'm sure there's something to learn, but still, it's not cool to force someone into that. I like that there's an option. I like that they don't even have to do it straight up. It's like, okay, cool. If you decide after graduating FDN that you need help, then you can do it then for not much more. I think that's just an all around really great thing. And so then the FDN Thrive thing for those, just so I give some context to it, because they might not have went back and listened to the episode, that is like next level, like legitimate hand holding, right? You're working in a group and stuff. I forget how that works, Jennifer, and I apologize if you don't know either. Do they have to go through business school now to get to Thrive, or can you still get to Thrive without that? Not
at this point. No, you do not. We might change that in the future, but we call that our Ascension program where, FDN Thrive would be at the top, the nadir of that. But at this point, you can just go into FDN Thrive when that comes back into play. We do have FDN Thrive on a small hiatus right now.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I didn't know that. And that kind of works out because I feel like FDN Business School makes the most sense. So Thrive is wonderful when we can do it, but I feel like the business school is probably a more straightforward solution for a lot of people. So yeah, thank you for creating this. It's just so exciting to see where FDN's coming, because this is, I mean, again, it's one of the most common things I would hear when I was doing the course enrollment advising, right? If people were asking like, hey, well, I know I want to do the health stuff, but I don't know how to run my own business. Can I get jobs with this? And the truth of the matter is there are more and more job opportunities popping up. I mean, I saw something in AFDNP the other day for $75 an hour. Yeah. I mean, that was ridiculous, So that is happening, but I think, I could be wrong, but I think everyone's dream goal is actually to own their own business. I think maybe it's just a current situation or some type of like limiting belief that prevents them from doing that, right? And that's okay. I mean, I work as an employee for FDN right now, and so do you, and we have our own businesses. Like there's nothing, I'm not condemning it. I'm just saying sometimes I believe that really is the dream for most people, and our limiting beliefs is what hold us back. So we're trying to help out in every way that we can. I always think about this with things. I'm like, I'm gonna not be on this earth one day. Like, do I want to not take that leap just because I'm scared of this right now? Am I going to be worried about that fear at 70 or 80? Like, that just doesn't seem like a good way to start my life when I know it would bring me so much benefit. So I think this is one of the most accessible things. And for whatever it's worth, I do think the price being doubled is fair, because like you, I've paid some pretty decent money for, not $10,000 for any singular thing, but I paid some pretty decent money for business courses and stuff. And they were useful, but nothing was specific to what I was doing, like an FDN type of thing. And I don't think anything I've ever done taught me about something as seemingly simple as, how do I start a business bank account? Like, what do I do? Like, what's an efficient way to track my income and stuff? Well, and again, you would think it's simple, but the people teaching it sometimes forget about it. So I love that you went back into the trenches and thought like, all right, what would maybe Jennifer Woodward have needed when she first started? What would someone like Ev needed when he first started? That's a lot of value there. So I hope people take advantage of it if they want to do it. And if nothing else, they're going to come back to us when they realize that most business coaches are like $10,000. So, especially in today's world, they'll just everyone keeps telling them, oh guys, it's just limiting beliefs, but that team took it way too far, because now they all think they're worth like 50 grand. So, FDN Business, you know what I'm talking about. FDN Business School is the way to go. I got to shut my mouth before I get kicked off by someone. I'm going to get a bad review for that crap. All right. Do we have anything else we need to talk about AFDNP-wise or business school-wise, or did we cover all the main stuff, my friend?
I think that is all the main stuff. So I really appreciate the opportunity to get to talk about this in this very liberty-focused podcast, which I appreciate for sure. Thanks for having me, Ev.
Yes. Yeah, it was wonderful having you on, and I'm sure we'll see you again in the future. Thank you.